Hi, I'm Rick Schultz. Welcome to Virtual Dynamics. We're here to answer a question about power conditioning, and that is questions and answers, power conditioning. Should I use a power conditioner in my high-end audio system? That's not a really simple answer, and the reason why it's not a simple answer is because there's lots of different power conditioning devices in the marketplace. There is a fairly easy response, though, to understanding this question. The first thing that you need to identify with an audio system and the requirement of using a power conditioner is the power that you've got right now being cleaned properly? Now, before I help you to understand the dilemma with power conditioning, I want you to understand that power conditioning is an issue that goes so far beyond just you as an audiophile trying to understand whether or not a power conditioner is important. Power conditioning is the integral part of building any really good high-end component. One of the things that a designer will do is they sit down with a new piece of equipment that they're trying to build and bring into the marketplace, is they'll work on the power supply. Now, the power supply builds and creates the power that's going to be feeding this new piece of equipment. As it feeds this new piece of equipment, what that challenge is about building a really good power supply is to make as much power as possible go through to the actual circuit board without inhibiting it any more than you absolutely have to. One of the problems that is found on a fairly regular basis is that the more things that you put in the pathway of the AC electricity as it's coming through, it's just like the signal chain. The more things you put in the signal chain or the signal path, the more distortions, the more interruptions, and the worse overall sound you have to have, because you're going to encourage losses and you're going to encourage distortions of some type. So we all understand that a clean, short, sweet signal path would probably be optimal for moving an electrical signal. The thing that we don't understand is that when we start introducing a power conditioner, we're adding on to the original designer's thinking of what power conditioning needs to be done to be able to feed that particular component. Because the power conditioning for that component, what the original designer was thinking was right for it, was actually built already in the power supply. So when you start to add a power conditioner into the mix, you're really going to change the electrical incoming energy that the amplifier was feeding off in the first place, and you're definitely going to change the sound of it. But are you really changing it for the better? Here's some of the problems that designers for audio equipment may have with the whole idea of power conditioning, and that is, if you're changing that incoming signal, if you're starting to do a lot to change it before it comes into your component, then is what they're doing in the power supply still as effective as what they originally had planned? One of the problems you see is that the total incoming power on your AC line needs to be as consistent as possible. It needs to be as high as possible. What happens in a lot of cases is that when you start to work in a power conditioner with transformers, capacitors, resistors, these sorts of things, some of the incoming power, anything that they feel as contaminants, when they're designing the power conditioner, they usually take that energy and they throw it into ground. Okay? So all of this contaminant energy basically has one pathway to be able to go into, and that's ground. Now, when a designer is designing an amplifier, a CD player, preamplifier, that's what they're doing as well. They're taking all of the contaminant energies off the circuit board and they're putting that to ground. So the idea is complementary. It seems like it's the same. The thing is that when you're building an amplifier, a CD player or preamplifier, you really get an understanding as you're doing this that if you take too many of these frequencies and you start throwing too much to ground, you really lose fidelity in the actual amplifier, CD player or preamplifier that you have. So you have to be very careful about how you go about this. When we plug in a power conditioner, we assume that it's going to be adding a benefit. That assumption is not followed by everybody that builds high-end audio equipment or works in this industry. So you'll find that in the ultra high-end, it becomes rarer and rarer to actually see power conditioners used, because as you spend more and more money, people are starting to say, okay, power is really, really important here. And I want you to understand that the first thing that you probably want to do before looking at a power conditioner is consider, do I have any audible humming problems coming from my loudspeaker? Now, it would need to be loud enough that it's fairly easily audible. If you've got something like that and you cannot get an electrician to come in and fix the problems or build you proper designated circuits for your audio system because you're in an apartment or you rent or it's just not feasible for any reason, then maybe a power conditioner is something that you have to look at. But you should always start first with being able to look at the electricity, the incoming energy to your audio system. That's where we would start, and that's that's where we recommend that you start. Wire yourself designated lines, and while you're doing that, try to build the best grounding scheme possible, because here's what's more important. To me, what's more important is that when the engineer that's designed this particular amplifier, for example, and wants to take all the contaminant energy, all the noise, and basically put it to ground, let's have the cleanest, clearest ground that we possibly can. Let's have the best grounding scheme available that we possibly can, so that these contaminants can easily flow out of the audio system and into ground, which is what's supposed to happen. So instead of trying to clean and therefore maybe obstruct incoming energy, let's take the waste energy that we are cleaning already in the amplifier and allow it to be more easily removed. Therefore, we should increase the overall clarity, increase the overall dynamics, increase maybe overall power possibly, and have a better, cleaner, clearer audio system. That's my take on power conditioning. Not that you can't have it, but if you do have it, be very, very careful that you're not taking a step back instead of a step forward.